I only signed one word, thank you. The old veteran's eyes filled with tears. The room went completely silent, because what I didn't know was that a 4-star general had just seen everything, the man no one heard. The airport was loud, not just noisy, but chaotic. Wheels screeching against tile floors, announcements echoing overhead, voices overlapping until none of them mattered. Everyone was in a hurry, everyone except him. He stood near the wall, just past the coffee kiosk, holding a paper cup with both hands like it might fall if he let go. An old man, late 70s, maybe older. A faded army jacket hung loosely on his thin frame. A small, worn U.S. Army pin clung to the collar, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. No suitcase, no phone, just a tired body waiting. People walked past him like he was invisible. A woman bumped his elbow and muttered something without stopping. A businessman brushed by, annoyed. A group of teenagers laughed loudly, oblivious. The old man flinched at sudden movements, not startled, just cautious. I noticed his hands. They trembled slightly, and then I saw his ears. Hearing aids, old ones. One of them was missing. That's when it clicked. He couldn't hear the announcements, couldn't hear his name if it was called, couldn't hear the world rushing past him, and the world clearly didn't care. Why I stopped? I don't know why I stopped. I was tired. Late. I had my own problems. But something about the way he stared at the departure board, confused, helpless, hit me somewhere deep. My father had been deaf in one ear. I grew up learning basic sign language so I could talk to him when things got bad. I hadn't used it in years. I stepped closer. The old man noticed my shadow and looked up, startled. His eyes were sharp, alert. Veteran eyes. I smiled gently and signed slowly. Hello. His face froze. Not confusion. Shock. Then disbelief. He leaned forward, squinting. I signed again. Hello. His hands trembled harder now. Then, carefully, clumsily, he raised one hand. He signed back, broken, rusty, but clear. You know? I nodded, then signed the only word that felt right. Thank you. The old man's eyes filled instantly. He didn't cry. He swallowed it. Veterans don't cry easily. But his lips shook. The story he never got to tell. He tapped the pin on his jacket, pointed to it, then signed, slowly. Vietnam. My chest tightened. He signed more, about jungle heat, about nights without sound, about an explosion that took his hearing, and most of his friends. People around us started noticing. They stared. Some whispered. Others rolled their eyes. One man sighed loudly. Can someone help him already? I turned. He doesn't need help, I said calmly. He needs respect. The man scoffed and walked away. The old veteran saw my lips move. He signed. Problem? I smiled and signed back. No, just noise. He chuckled silently. The man in the corner. What I didn't know, what I couldn't know, was that someone else had been watching from across the terminal. A tall man, immaculate posture, civilian clothes but unmistakable presence. No insignia, no medals, but authority followed him like a shadow. A 4-star general, and he hadn't missed a second. The room that forgot him. The airport didn't stop. That was the strange thing. Even as something meaningful unfolded in a quiet corner, the world kept rushing, dragging bags, shouting announcements, chasing connections. No one slowed down. Except us. The old veteran shifted his weight, clearly tired. His knees trembled as if they'd been standing too long. I pointed to a row of empty seats and signed. Sit? He nodded gratefully. We sat side by side. Up close, I noticed the details. Scars on his hands, calloused fingers, a faded tattoo barely visible under his sleeve. Numbers, not art, unit identification. He followed my eyes and smiled faintly. Signed, Young. I smiled back. Long time ago, I signed. He nodded. Then his face grew serious. He tapped his ear gently, then shook his head. Gone, he signed, then pointed to the airport screens. Missed flight? I asked. He shrugged. Signed slowly. Name called. Didn't hear. They leave. My jaw tightened. No assistance, no follow-up, just left behind. I looked around for airport staff. 2 employees stood near the gate desk, laughing about something on a phone. I waved. They glanced over, saw us, then looked away. The old man noticed. He signed, quickly now, embarrassed. Okay. Used to it. That sentence hurt more than any story he'd told. The cost of being invisible. I stood up, walked over to the desk. Excuse me, I said firmly. This gentleman is deaf. He missed his boarding call. The agent sighed. We already closed that flight. He didn't hear it. She glanced at him briefly. That's unfortunate. But he should have checked the board. I felt heat rise in my chest. He was checking the board. He can't hear announcements. She shrugged. There's another flight tomorrow. Tomorrow. I turned back to the veteran. Signed, trying. He smiled sadly. Signed. Thank you. Enough. That's when a shadow fell across the counter. A calm voice spoke. That won't be necessary. The agent straightened instantly. Yes, sir, I turned. The tall man had stepped closer. Silver hair, clear eyes, presence that made the noise around us fade. He looked at the veteran, then at me, then at the agent. This man will be rebooked, he said quietly. Today the agent nodded rapidly. Of course, sir. No argument. No shrug, just compliance. The veteran looked confused. Signed to me. Who? I didn't know yet. I shook my head. Signed, friend. Recognition without words. The tall man crouched slightly in front of the veteran. Didn't speak. Instead, he raised his hand and signed. Not clumsy, not basic. Fluent. Thank you for your service. The old man froze. Then broke. Tears spilled freely now. He signed back, hands shaking. You know? The man nodded. Signed, I remember. Years passed between them without a sound. I realized then, this wasn't pity. This was respect, the highest kind, a past that still breathes. The tall man finally spoke to me. You did the right thing. I nodded, unsure what to say. He extended his hand. James Carter. The name meant nothing to me. Yet, I'm just helping, I said. He smiled faintly. Most people don't. Behind us, the agent returned with new boarding passes. The veteran stared at them like they were unreal. Signed to me. Real? I nodded. Signed. Real. He laughed silently. The sound of a man who hadn't expected kindness anymore. What I didn't know yet. As we walked toward the new gate, I noticed something. People were staring now, not at the veteran, at James Carter. Whispers followed us. Phones came out, then quickly went away. One man stood at attention instinctively as we passed. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just anyone. This was someone important. Very important. And I still had no idea just how important. The weight of a salute. We reached the gate early. Too early. The kind of early that gives silence room to speak. The veteran sat slowly, carefully, as if his body remembered pain even when his mind tried to ignore it. He placed his cap neatly on his lap, straightened it, muscle memory. Across the terminal, people kept glancing our way. Not openly, quick looks, side eyes, that instinctive pause people have when they sense something significant but don't understand it yet. James Carter stood beside the window, hands clasped behind his back, still, like a monument. The veteran nudged me gently. Signed, he military. I nodded. Signed back, yes. He watched Carter for a long moment. Then signed something that caught me off guard. High, I hesitated. Signed, how high? The veteran raised his hand slowly. 4 fingers, then a star. My stomach dropped. Before I could respond, An airport supervisor approached. She walked straight to Carter. Her posture changed instantly. "General," she said quietly. I froze. "General, not Colonel, not Commander, General." The veteran saw my face. "Signed, what?" I swallowed. "Signed slowly, 4-star. His eyes widened. Then, without hesitation, he stood, slowly, with effort, but with pride. He adjusted his jacket, placed his cap on his head, and saluted. It wasn't perfect, his arm shook, but it was real. The general turned instantly and returned the salute. Sharp, precise, unwavering. The terminal went silent. People stopped walking, stopped talking, stopped breathing. 2 young soldiers nearby snapped to attention. One woman gasped softly. The general lowered his hand, then did something no one expected. He stepped forward and embraced the veteran, not for cameras, not for show, just 2 soldiers, one old, one powerful, bound by something deeper than rank. The veteran's shoulders trembled. Signed against the general's chest. Thought forgotten, the general signed back. Never. The war that never ended. We sat again, this time together. The veteran began to tell his story, slowly, with hands that had carried rifles before they learned silence. He had been a radio operator. Early years, before technology was kind, an explosion. Close, too close. He tapped his ear, signed, boom. Then quiet, permanent. He showed me scars on his neck, shrapnel. Then signed something that made the general close his eyes. Kept fighting, no hearing, still fighting, reading lips, following vibrations, trusting instinct. Until the day command pulled him out. Not because he couldn't fight, but because they were afraid he wouldn't hear the order to retreat. Signed, they say hero. Then disappear. The general opened his eyes. Voice low. That was my unit. The veteran froze. Signed. You, the general nodded. I was a lieutenant, barely older than you were then. The veteran studied his face, then smiled. Signed. You alive. The general swallowed. Because of you, truth in the open. Airport security approached again. Different tone now. Respectful. Almost reverent. General Carter, the officer said. We've arranged priority boarding. Carter nodded. Then turned to me. You're coming too. I shook my head instinctively. I'm not. You're part of this now. The veteran looked at me. Signed, friend. I smiled. Signed. Friend. As we boarded, people stood. Some clapped quietly. Some cried. One young boy saluted awkwardly. The veteran noticed. Returned it. Perfectly. What I learned that day. As the plane lifted off, the general leaned closer. You didn't know who I was. I shook my head. No, sir, he smiled. That's why it mattered. He looked at the veteran. Respect without expectation. Then at me. That's leadership. The veteran tapped my arm. Signed. Thank you. But this time, it wasn't for the help. It was for seeing him. The order that changed everything. The plane had barely reached cruising altitude when the general unbuckled his seatbelt. He didn't rush, didn't announce anything. But when a 4-star general stands, people notice. A flight attendant hurried over, clearly nervous. Sir, can I help you? Yes, General Carter said calmly. I need to make a call. She hesitated, then nodded immediately. Of course, sir. He stepped a few rows ahead, phone already in his hand. I watched him from my seat. The veteran sat beside me, staring out the window, his reflection faint in the glass. He signed softly, almost to himself. Never thought, plane again. I signed back. You deserve it. He smiled, small and tired. The call no one heard. General Carter's voice was low, controlled, not angry. That was what made it terrifying. Yes, I'm with him now, he said. No, not tomorrow. Today. A pause. I don't care how long it's been. Another pause. Then, make it right. He ended the call, sat back down. The veteran looked at him. Signed. Trouble? The general shook his head gently. No, correction. The truth comes out. A few minutes later, the general leaned toward me. Do you know why he was never recognized? He asked. I shook my head. They lost his paperwork, he said flatly. Not misplaced. Lost. My jaw tightened. The explosion damaged the field records. Names disappeared, and bureaucracy buried the rest. He looked at the veteran. This man saved 12 soldiers during a retreat, carried 2 on his back, dragged another out under fire. I felt sick. And then, the general continued. We sent him home with a handshake and silence. The veteran watched us, sensing the heaviness. Signed. Talking about me? The general signed back. Yes. Then something that made the old man stiffen. And we owe you. The viral moment. Mid-flight. A passenger a few rows back whispered loudly, "Is that really General Carter?" Another replied, "Yeah." 4 stars. Phones came out, quietly, respectfully. Someone snapped a photo, then another. Not of the general, of the salute earlier. Someone had recorded it. Within minutes the cabin Wi-Fi buzzed. The video spread. A deaf veteran saluting a 4-star general in an airport terminal. No sound, just respect. The veteran didn't know, yet, the announcement. When the seatbelt sign turned off, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue our flight, I have a special announcement." The cabin hushed. "We have among us today a United States Army veteran whose service was never properly recognized." The veteran looked around, confused. I touched his arm. Signed, "Listen with eyes." The captain continued. "Under orders from General James Carter, this flight is honored to welcome." The general stood, saluted. The entire cabin followed. Dozens of people standing, saluting, some with tears streaming down their faces. The veteran's hands shook. He stood slowly, returned the salute, perfectly. For a long moment, no one sat down. What recognition really means. The general lowered his hand, walked to the veteran, spoke quietly but firmly. "You were never forgotten," he said. "We just took too long to say it out loud." The veteran signed back, struggling. I waited. The general nodded. "I know." The medal he waited a lifetime for. The cabin stayed standing long after the captain finished speaking. No one rushed back to their seats. No one complained. For once, time slowed down for the right reason. The veteran looked around him, confused and overwhelmed. He tugged gently at my sleeve and signed. "Why standing?" I swallowed. Signed slowly, carefully. "For you." His eyes widened, then dropped, like the weight of decades finally settled on his shoulders. He sat back down, suddenly exhausted. The general placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "You carried this war alone for too long," he said softly. The veteran looked up at him. Signed, "Just did job." The general shook his head. "No," he replied, "you did more." The ground stops moving. When we landed, something felt different. The plane taxied slowly. Too slowly. Passengers glanced out the windows, murmuring. I followed their gaze. Along the terminal windows stood a line of people, uniforms, dress blues, army greens, navy whites, at least 30 service members, standing at attention. The veteran froze, signed urgently. "Wrong gate?" I felt my throat close. Signed, "No." The door opened. The general stood first, saluted. Every service member returned it in perfect unison. The sound of boots hitting the floor echoed. The veteran stood, hesitant, unsure, then stepped forward. As he crossed the threshold, applause erupted. Not loud, not chaotic, measured, respectful, the kind of applause meant for heroes. The ceremony he never expected. In the terminal, a small podium had been set up, an American flag behind it. An officer read from a document. Official. Final. By authority of the United States Army. The veteran's hands trembled. The general turned to him. "This should have happened 50 years ago," he said. Then pinned a medal to the old man's jacket. A bronze star. For valor. The veteran stared at it like it wasn't real. Signed slowly. "Mine?" The general nodded. "Yes." The veteran's knees buckled. I caught him. He laughed silently, cried openly. For the first time, he didn't try to hide it. The words he signed last. After the ceremony, reporters waited. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. The general waved them back. "Not today," he said. He turned to the veteran. "Say what you want," he told him. "No one will rush you." The veteran looked at me. "Signed. Help?" I nodded. He faced the crowd, signed slowly, carefully. I spoke his words aloud. "I didn't fight to be remembered," I translated. "I fought because the man next to me mattered." He paused. Signed again. "I don't hear the world anymore," I continued, my voice shaking. "But today, I feel it." Silence followed. Then applause. This time, unrestrained. The lesson that stayed with me. Later, when the crowd cleared, the general shook my hand. "You didn't know who I was," he said again. I shook my head. He smiled. "That's why this mattered." The veteran tapped my arm. "One last time." Signed. "You saw me." I nodded. "Yes." He signed back. "That enough?"